Shavua Tov, a gute Woche, and welcome to our program. This week was Chof of Wednesday, the Yotzeit of Agoyna Chosid Amkubol, the Rebbe Yitzchok Nishmos Eden Schneerson, the father of the Rebbe. The Rebbe writes that he found so far, and the Rebbe writes that in his humility, that he found so far one time that the date of Chof of was mentioned in Shas. And that is in Tainis Daf Chof Vov Omed Aleph, where it says, it's the Mishnah, Be'esrim Bey B'nei Pachas Me'ov Ben Yehuda. On the 20th day of Ov, the children of Pachas Me'ov Ben Yehuda. What about them? They would make a celebration, as we find later in the Gemara Chof Ches Omed Aleph. And the Gemara says, Tono B'nei Pachas Me'ov Ben Yehuda. Who are they? The children of Pachas Me'ov Ben Yehuda. Hein b'nei David. These are the children of David, the grandchildren of David ben Yehuda. That's what the Meir says. The B'yesi Meir hein b'nei Yeov ben Tzruya. The B'yesi says that these are the grandchildren of Yeov ben Tzruya. Now wait a minute, hold it. There's a machlekes here in Mitzias, in fact. There's a klal, there's a principle in Shas, that there's no Metzias in fact. There's no machlekes in fact. There can be a machlekes in theory. But in fact, it can be a machlekes because they both can't be right. It's either this way or that way. The fact is one. So therefore, it's either they were the grandchildren of David ben Yehuda or the grandchildren of Yehuda ben Tzruya. So how can there be a machlekes, a difference of opinion of we will return to that in a moment, and what to the machlekes and how we can figure out, as the Rebbe did, that it's not a machlekes, and really what were they celebrating. But first, our customary story, as it is after the Yotzeit, after the first Yotzeit of Reb Yoel. Reb Yoel told a story that the Rebbe wrote in the Hanoche, the first years. The Rebbe wrote a few lines from the Sefer, the Sisei Loilo. The Rebbe wrote a few lines, quoted a long quote from the Sefer. And then the Rebbe writes to Rabbi Yoel, to those who did the Hanoche, that the Sefer, the Sisei Loilo, the Rebbe, I do not have the Sefer handy now, so please check whether this quote is correct. And Rabbi Yoel told the story that the Rebbe wrote it extemporaneously from memory, and they checked with the Sefer, the Sisei Loilo, and the quote was just about accurate. A few lines, long lines. And Rabbi Yoel said that the Sisei Loilo is not a popular Sefer. Most people don't even know that it exists. It's a Sefer by the Tzodek HaKehen, a small Sefer. And it's not, most people don't even know that there is such a Sefer. And for the Rebbe to know by heart a long quote from the Sefer, the Sisei Loilo, was something that extraordinary. And the Yoel said that he found it later, and the quote was just about correct, although the Rebbe did it all from memory. How do you pronounce it? The Sisei Loilo or Sisei Loilo? Since it's a Sefer that the Rebbe mentioned, it's a Sisei Loilo. Why? Because it comes from a posuk in Shir Hashirim, Shereishi Nimlotol Kvutzeisai Sisei Loilo. And that at the end of the posuk, it's not Lilo, it's Loilo. So it's the Sisei Loilo. It's also known, there are some who say Tzmilas Metzori Shabbos, Hamavdil Ben Kedesh Lecheil, and there's a part in Hamavdil Ben Kedesh Lecheil, Shereishi Bal Yuntol, Psachli Shal Hamnutol, Shereishi Nimlotol, Kvutzeisai Sisei Loilo. On a personal note, we're talking about Rabbi Yoel. Years ago, for Rabbi Yoel's birthday, I wanted to buy him a sefer. And they didn't know what kind of sefer I'm going to buy him. Should I buy the Reb Yoel a Chabad sefer? It's going to be offensive. The Reb Yoel doesn't need me to buy him a Chabad sefer. And it's going to be offensive because Chabad's for him. He has himself. And no one needs to buy it for him. So I went into the bookstore and I looked around what Sforim are available. And I saw that they were selling a set in small format of all the Sforim of the Tzodik HaKehen. About 7-8 sets. Among them Tzidkas HaTzadik, among them the Sisei Loilo. So I bought the set. And I didn't know whether Reb Yoel is going to be happy with it or not. I bring it to him. When Reb Yoel saw the set, his eyes lit up. And he was so happy. And he thanked me once, and he thanked me again, and he thanked me again for bringing this set of the Sforim of the Tzodik HaKehen. And at that time I was wondering, why was Reb Yoel so happy about these Sforim? Reb Yoel didn't tell me the story with the Rebbe. But later when the story came out, that it was in the Hanoche, and the Rebbe quoted a few lines from the Sisei Loilo, I was beginning to understand the simcha of Reb Yoel that I bought him the Sforim of the Tzodik HaKehen. Rabbi say, B'hanegeya to our Shaila. Let's go over the Gemara, as mentioned before, in Tainis. First it's the Mishnah. The Mishnah is Chafov of Amud Aleph, and then it's the Gemara. The Gemara says that there's a machlekes. Who are those children of Bnei Pachas Meyav ben Yehuda? Who are they? The Meir says these are the children of Bnei David ben Yehuda, and Rabbi Yossi says the children of Bnei Yehuda ben Tzuruyo. And how can there be a machlekes in Metzius, in fact? And what was the celebration about? So we go over to the Gemara, also in Tainis, at the end. Daf Lamed Aleph, Amud Aleph, the last Amud in Tainis. And then the Gemara says, what's the story? That from the 15th day of Ov and on, Toshash Keicho Shel Chamo, the power of the sun is diminished, and you would not cut any more wood for the wood pile of the Mizbeach, because they are not, Yeveshin means they are not dry, because you were afraid there would be worms there, and when the sun is strong, it destroys the worms. Nevertheless, when the sun is not strong anymore, and that is from the 15th day of Ov, then from that day you didn't cut more. In other words, the first time that they needed wood for the wood pile of the Mizbeach would be Chofov, would be 5 days after that. And then you couldn't go on the day before Chofov and cut more wood because you can't cut after Chamish also. So therefore they had to cut before. And therefore they would make a simcha on that day. And then now it's a machlekes who they were. Now why would they make a simcha? Because God gave them the opportunity that they would bring eitzim, wood for the wood pile, so the people would be able to bring korbanos. Another question is, people bring korbanos, and they were happy, that family, that's why they made a big celebration, that they had the great merit of supplying the Jewish community with wood that they couldn't get now, that they had to get before. Now the Rebbe explains, you needed the wood for the wood pile of the Mizbeach. What korbanos did you bring at the Mizbeach? All kinds of korbanos. You brought on the Mizbeach, on Elo and Ashlomim every day and so on. You also brought on the Mizbeach Achatos and Aoshum. In other words, not every Jew that came to the Mizbeach to bring a korban was a big tzaddik. There's some Jews who were sinners. And the reason they came to the Mizbeach because they have sinned, and they want the korban, the sacrifice, to atone for their sins. So these individuals, had the sensitivity for every single Jew, not only for Klal Yisrael, and that we should be able to bring every day to korbanos that's for Klal Yisrael, but also for Rebbe Yisrael, for the individual Jew. And not only the individual Jew who's a big tzaddik who never sins, but for the individual Jew who brings a korban oshom, a korban chatos, where he's guilty, and he brings a korban. And there's going to be a school of thought that's going to say, this fellow sins, now he needs wood for the mizbeach, let him worry for the wood. Do I have to worry for a Jew who sinned and has to bring a chatos and an osham, and you don't bring a chatos and an osham for nothing, you bring it, one little Islam, for a real sin? Do I have to worry for him? The answer is yes. They worried, they had the sensitivity, they worried for everyone, including what we say in Yiddish, the chatos yidel. Not the Jew that brings a nelo and a shlomim. The Jew who sinned, and they cared for him. And they didn't want that when he comes to the Beis HaMikdash, he should not have to worry where he's going to get the wood. The question is, where did they get that sensitivity? So there's a machlekes in Gemara. What's the machlekes? The machlekes is, these are the grandchildren of David ben Yehuda. Rabbi Meir says, and Rabbi Yossi says, these are the grandchildren of Yeov ben Tzeruya. Says the Rebbe, it's not a machlekes. It's not a machlekes in Metzias. Because David ben Yehuda and Yeov ben Tzeruya did a shidduch. So these are the grandchildren that were issued from this union of both. So these are the grandchildren of both. So if that's the case, if they're the grandchildren of both, so what's the idea of saying that these are the grandchildren of David, or these are the grandchildren of Yeov ben Tzeruya? Says the Rebbe, the question is, where did they get that sensitivity from? Where did these children, this family, get the sensitivity that they should bring the wood pile, the wood, for the Jew who sins? So therefore, there's one school of thought who says they got it from David, from David. And David, we know, David had so much of us Yisrael. And there is another school of thought that said that they got it from Yeov. What is the difference? Because the Rebbe brings the Gemara in Sanhedrin, Ilmole David liosa Yeov milchomo, Ilmole Yeov liosa David betero. David and Yeov did two separate things. David was sitting and learning; he was the king. Yeov was the general; he fought all the wars. Says the Gemara that if not for David, Yeov would not go out and wage a war, because he wanted the war to be successful. So Yeov knew that the war is going to be successful because David HaMelech is sitting in his palace and he's saying Tilim, and he's offering prayers to Almighty God. Then he's going to be successful. Not because his army is strong. His army was strong, but that wasn't the reason for success. The reason for success was because David HaMelech was praying for them. And David HaMelech also would not be able to sit in learning Torah unless he had peace of mind. Who gave him peace of mind? Yeov, because Yeov made sure that all the enemies around Israel were taken care of, and they would become obsolete. Now the question is, where did they get this sensitivity from? So the Rebbe says that what we find in Gemara, the Meir says they are Bnei David ben Yehuda. Meir comes from the word light. We know that. So the Meir's main function in life was to find light, and therefore he says they come from David HaMelech. Rabbi Yossi, the Rebbe says Yossi is a numerical value, has a numerical value of 86. 86 is Shem Elikim. Shem Elikim is connected with Teva, and therefore Rabbi Yossi says it's connected with Teva with Yeov ben Tzeruya, who dealt with this world. And to conclude, we have the Gemara in Tainis. To conclude the Gemara of Tainis, the Gemara answer says at the end, Mikan ve'elach, from the day Tesvov, from the 15th day of Ov, and further, the Meisif Yesif. What is the Meisif Yesif? So the Gemara explains And the Rashi explains the Meisif Leilis al Hayomim, that he adds the nights to the days, since the nights are now becoming longer. So now he's adding the nights to the days of learning. Lasik B'Teiro Yesif Chayim al Chayov. He will add life to his life. So now if he will add, because now the night becomes bigger, so he will add part of the night to his day on learning Torah, he will add Chayim al Chayov, life on his life. Needless to say, the Rebbe loved this Gemara. The Rebbe loved all the Gemaras. But a Gemara that speaks about learning and about giving the Jew the opportunity of long life and the key to long life. This is something that the Rebbe got a lot of pleasure in telling us, that after Chamishos Be'ov, if we add time we take time from the night that became longer, and we take time from the night, which means time from our sleep. That's what the Rashi says. And to learn Torah, Yesif Chayim al Chayov will add life to his life. Rabbi say, we're in a special generation. We all know that. The last generation of Golus, the first generation of Geula. And we're getting there. We're getting to the Geula Hamitis V'Yashlema. And we need another push. And hopefully, Emir Hashem, through the big push of that Rebbe organized it even until today. Until today, the Rebbe Shluchim all over, the Rebbe's Talmidim all over, the Rebbe's Chassidim all over, who are putting once and for all the finishing touches on the Golus. We will be zeiche, Emir Hashem, to see with our very own eyes the Geula Hamitis V'Yashlema coming our way. ובגולו דידנו ושמחה ובטוב לבובו וטיב הנירה והנגלו למטה מעשרות טפוחים ובחסד וברחמים ותקף ומיד ממש.